Every moment you wait is a moment lost. Life does a T, pause for hesitation, and success does a T, come to those who wait for motivation to arrive. Every day is a choice to act or to drift, to take control or to let circumstances decide your future. The difference between someone who achieves their dreams and someone who only wishes for them isn't talent, luck, or opportunity, it's action. Real progress is made by those who push forward step by step, even when they don't feel ready, even when resistance whispers that it's easier to wait. Action is not about feeling confident before starting. It's about choosing to move forward despite doubt. It's about forcing yourself to begin when the mind argues against it, when distractions tempt, and when every excuse seems reasonable. True accomplishment is born from doing what must be done, day by day, consistently, without relying on fleeting motivation. Every decision to act compounds into momentum. Every step builds confidence, clarity, and results that cannot be ignored. The most successful people are not those who wait for the perfect time. They start, they persist, and they refine their approach as they go. They take small, deliberate steps every day, knowing that consistent effort beats sporadic bursts of energy. They organize their time, break tasks into manageable pieces, push through resistance, and reward themselves for completing the work. They reflect, adjust, and prepare for the next day, ensuring that every action contributes to long-term growth. This video is about learning how to force yourself to take action day by day, building momentum that becomes unstoppable. It is about turning intention into reality, hesitation into forward motion, and effort into lasting results. By the end, you will understand how to create a daily system that keeps you moving, even when you feel unmotivated, overwhelmed, or uncertain. You will learn how to start before you feel ready, break tasks into small steps, set must-do lists, ignore excuses, create urgency, reward progress, and reflect each night to plan for tomorrow. Every principle is designed to ensure that action becomes a habit, and habit becomes your pathway to achievement. Are you ready to stop waiting and start doing? Are you ready to transform how you approach every day and take control of your life? This is the path where consistency replaces hesitation and momentum replaces procrastination. Every day you act, you build the life you want, one deliberate step at a time. Today is your opportunity to begin. Zaliam Par E, start before you feel ready. Starting before you feel ready is the single most important action you can take to change your life. Too many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect circumstances before taking action. They believe they need confidence, clarity, or complete preparation to begin. That belief is a trap. Waiting for readiness is a form of procrastination disguised as caution. In reality, the perfect moment rarely exists. Conditions are never ideal. People who succeed are the ones who act despite uncertainty, who step forward even when they feel unprepared. Action creates readiness. Momentum begins with the first step, no matter how small or imperfect it may seem. You don't need everything figured out before starting. You don't need every tool, every skill, or every answer. What you need is commitment to begin. Starting before you feel ready forces you to confront fear, uncertainty, and self-doubt directly. It trains you to rely on effort rather than waiting for feelings to align with your ambitions. Every day you wait, opportunities pass by. Every day you hesitate, your potential diminishes. Action doesn't wait for permission. It happens because you choose to act, and that choice changes your trajectory. The mind resists starting for a reason. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of discomfort are natural, but they cannot be allowed to dictate your life. Starting before you feel ready is a form of courage. It is the conscious decision to face those fears and move forward regardless. When you take action, the fear diminishes. It shrinks in the presence of effort. Every time you start despite hesitation, you train yourself to operate in discomfort, to keep moving even when the mind screams for delay. That ability is what separates those who accomplish great things from those who remain in potential, forever waiting. Action itself teaches lessons that preparation cannot. Reading, planning, and thinking are valuable, but they cannot replace the insights gained from doing. You learn by testing, by adjusting, and by responding to reality. When you start, you discover what works, what doesn't, and what requires improvement. Waiting for readiness keeps you in theory, but acting puts you in the arena. Experience is the only teacher capable of refining skill, shaping character, and building confidence. Starting before you feel ready ensures that learning happens in real time and progress becomes inevitable. Consistency compounds when you start even in uncertainty. Each time you take action, you reinforce your commitment, strengthen habits, and build momentum. The first step may be shaky, incomplete, or awkward, but it matters because it establishes the pattern of doing rather than waiting. Momentum is born from action, not contemplation. By beginning before you feel ready, you activate the cycle of effort that leads to mastery, competence, and results. Waiting for motivation or clarity is a delay that robs you of that compounding energy. Starting before readiness also strengthens confidence. Confidence is not innate. It grows from repeated actions. People often believe confidence precedes success, but the truth is the opposite. Success builds confidence. The act of starting, of showing up when you don't feel prepared, produces evidence of capability. Each completed step, each minor victory, reinforces your belief in your own ability to handle challenges. Over time, the accumulation of these experiences transforms hesitation into certainty and fear into self-assurance. Now, it's important to recognize that starting small is sufficient. Beginning does not require massive effort or perfect execution. A small, decisive step is enough to break inertia. Sending the first email, making the first call, writing the first paragraph, or exercising for 5 minutes, each action signals commitment and triggers momentum, is secondary. The act of starting sets the foundation for greater effort, for refinement, and for sustained action in the days to come. Discipline is also reinforced through action. Waiting for readiness creates a reliance on feeling motivated or confident, which is unreliable. Action cultivates discipline by teaching the mind and body to follow through regardless of circumstance. Each time you move forward without feeling ready, you prove to yourself that effort does not depend on comfort or certainty. You build the ability to operate under pressure, to continue when energy is low, and to maintain consistency in the face of doubt. The most successful people understand that readiness is a myth. They understand that life does not hand out perfect conditions or ideal timing. They act anyway. They show up, they move, they try, and they adjust. Waiting for readiness only prolongs the struggle and delays growth. Taking action before you feel prepared is not reckless, it is strategic. It maximizes opportunities, accelerates learning, and strengthens both skill and character. Now, ultimately, starting before you feel ready is the gateway to progress. It transforms hesitation into action, doubt into experience, and fear into capability. The first step creates movement, and movement creates momentum. Each small action becomes a building block for the next, and soon, readiness is no longer a requirement because experience has replaced uncertainty. Progress becomes inevitable. Success is never granted to those who wait for perfect conditions. It belongs to those who act, who force themselves to take the first step, who persist despite discomfort, and who learn through doing. The path to achievement begins with action, and action begins before you feel ready. Every day you delay, potential passes by, Every day you act, you create opportunity, build confidence, and move closer to your goals. So, starting before you feel ready is the foundation of consistent action, the bedrock of discipline, and the first move toward the life you desire. Part break tasks into small, doable steps. Breaking tasks into small, doable steps is the secret to consistent progress. Big goals can feel overwhelming. When you look at a major project, a career milestone, or a life-changing plan in its entirety, it can create a sense of paralysis. Your mind tries to process all the moving parts, the potential risks, the unknowns, and the sheer scope of what needs to be done. That overwhelming feeling often leads to procrastination, hesitation, or even avoidance. The key is to divide the task into pieces that are manageable, steps that are clear and achievable. Doing so transforms anxiety into action. Small steps make progress tangible. When you focus on the next action rather than the entire mountain, you gain clarity. You know exactly what to do, and your mind no longer spirals into worry about all that comes after. It could be as simple as writing the first paragraph instead of thinking about completing the entire report, making one phone call instead of worrying about the entire outreach campaign, or exercising for 10 minutes instead of planning an hour-long workout. These small actions create immediate forward motion. Momentum is born not from thinking about the whole, but from consistently completing the next step. Breaking tasks into smaller steps also builds confidence. Each completed step reinforces your capability. Your brain sees evidence that progress is possible. When you tackle the first small action, you feel a sense of achievement. Completing the next one reinforces that feeling. Step by step, task by task, you build the conviction that you can handle bigger challenges. So, confidence grows not from grand gestures, but from a series of consistent, manageable actions. Over time, completing these small steps becomes automatic, and the bigger goal feels achievable rather than intimidating. Now, clarity is another benefit of this approach. Large tasks are often ambiguous. We hesitate because we unsure how to proceed. Breaking them down forces you to identify the essential elements of what needs to be done. You define a starting point, a sequence, and a clear path forward. When the work is divided, the next action becomes obvious. You eliminate the guesswork and remove barriers that could prevent momentum. Knowing exactly what to do in each moment makes action inevitable. Consistency is easier when tasks are broken down. Large tasks demand significant energy and focus, which can be exhausting and unsustainable. Small, manageable steps are less intimidating and easier to maintain over time. Even on low-energy days, you can complete a single step. That one step keeps the process alive, maintains habit, and ensures progress continues. The accumulation of these small, consistent actions over weeks and months produces results far greater than sporadic bursts of effort. Breaking tasks into steps also reduces stress. The mind reacts negatively to the perception of impossibility. Large, undefined goals create tension, anxiety, and resistance. By segmenting the work, you reduce mental load and make the process more approachable. You create a rhythm of action rather than a battle against fear or overwhelm. Each small step becomes a source of clarity and calm, making progress both sustainable and satisfying. Each step should be actionable and specific. Vagueness creates hesitation. Work on the project is too broad. Write the introduction for the report or call 3 potential clients is clear and concrete. When a step is defined in terms of specific actions, it is impossible to stall. You know exactly what to do, and the decision to act becomes straightforward. Clarity of action removes mental friction and increases the likelihood of execution. Breaking tasks into steps also allows you to celebrate progress. Each small accomplishment provides feedback and reinforcement. These moments of completion, even minor, boost motivation and maintain engagement. They remind you that effort is paying off, even if the larger goal is still in the future. Recognizing these small wins keeps you moving forward and reduces the risk of burnout. Flexibility is another advantage. When tasks are broken into steps, adjustments are easier. If circumstances change, you can modify a single step without derailing the entire project. This adaptability keeps you moving rather than stopping due to unexpected obstacles. Small steps create resilience, allowing progress to continue even in imperfect conditions. Ultimately, big goals are achieved through the accumulation of small, deliberate actions. Success is not instantaneous. It is the product of consistent effort applied in manageable doses over time. By breaking tasks into small, doable steps, you remove barriers, reduce stress, build confidence, and create momentum. Every small step completed reinforces the habit of action, strengthens your resolve, and brings you closer to your desired outcome. The lesson is clear. Focus on what you can do next, not on how far you have to go. Focus on the step in front of you rather than the entire mountain. Consistency, clarity, and momentum are produced by small actions, repeated daily. Every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. Every action compounds, leading to achievements that once seemed impossible. By taking one small step, you turn overwhelm into forward motion and create a path to success that is steady, manageable, and unstoppable. Part 10, set a daily must-do list. Setting a daily must-do list is one of the most practical and effective ways to force yourself into consistent action. Life is full of distractions, temptations, and competing priorities. Without a clear plan, it's easy to drift, to spend time on what feels urgent rather than what is truly important. A daily must-do list creates focus. It identifies the critical actions that must be completed today, the steps that will move you closer to your goals. When you know exactly what you have to do, decision fatigue disappears. Action becomes intentional rather than reactive. A well-designed must-do list is selective. It doesn't include everything you could possibly do. It highlights only the most impactful tasks, the actions that will produce results and push your life forward. Filling a list with too many items creates stress and dilutes attention. Limiting your list forces you to prioritize, to distinguish between what is essential and what is optional. This prioritization ensures that even if the day gets chaotic, the most important things are completed. Writing down your must-dos transforms intentions into commitments. Thoughts alone are fleeting. You might remember an important task in the morning, but forget it by noon. Once you write it down, it becomes tangible. You can see it, review it, and hold yourself accountable. Crossing an item off the list gives a small, reinforcing sense of accomplishment, which fuels momentum for the next action. Each completed task strengthens the habit of following through. A daily list also reduces mental clutter. The brain only has so much capacity to juggle competing priorities. When you create a structured list, your mind no longer wastes energy deciding what to do next. The plan is clear. You move from task to task without hesitation. That clarity increases productivity and reduces stress, making consistent action more achievable. Discipline is reinforced through the must-do list. It becomes a tool that keeps you moving even when motivation is low. On days when energy is lacking or focus is scattered, the list is your guide. You don't need to think about what to do. You simply follow the plan. The act of completing these must-dos day after day builds consistency, strengthens habit, and gradually develops the character necessary for long-term success. A must-do list also creates a sense of urgency. Knowing that there are specific tasks that must be accomplished today pushes you to act. It prevents procrastination by giving structure to your day. Without this list, it is easy to spend time on low-value activities or to put off important work indefinitely. With it, each day has a purpose, and every action contributes directly to progress. Flexibility can coexist with structure. A must-do list doesn't mean rigidity, it means focus. If circumstances change, you can adjust the list, but you still maintain clarity about what is essential. Even when the day doesn't go perfectly, having a prioritized list ensures that key actions are completed and that progress is made. Reflecting on the list at the end of the day is also valuable. Seeing what was accomplished, what remains, and how effectively you managed your priorities provides feedback. This reflection allows you to refine your approach, improve your planning, and strengthen your ability to act consistently. Over time, this habit of daily planning produces a rhythm of achievement that becomes automatic. The must-do list is not just a productivity tool, it's a way of training yourself to act with intention. Each day, it reinforces the principle that action matters more than thought or intention alone. It ensures that you are not waiting for motivation to arrive, but instead are moving deliberately toward your goals. Consistent completion of must-dos compounds into measurable progress and builds the discipline necessary to tackle larger challenges. Ultimately, a daily must-do list turns ambition into action. It eliminates indecision, focuses effort on what matters most, and builds a habit of consistent progress. Every day you complete your must-dos, you reinforce the habit of action. Every completed task, no matter how small, contributes to momentum that carries you forward. By committing to these critical actions every day, you create a life of steady achievement and unstoppable forward motion. Part 4, ignore excuses and push through resistance. Ignoring excuses and pushing through resistance is the defining habit that separates those who achieve their goals from those who remain stuck in potential. Life will always present obstacles, both external and internal. You will face fatigue, doubt, fear, distractions, and moments when the task ahead seems too difficult or unappealing. These moments are inevitable. The difference lies in how you respond. Success is not reserved for those who feel motivated or comfortable. It is earned by those who act despite discomfort. Choosing to push forward, even when every part of you resists, is what produces results. Excuses are the mind and cess way of justifying inaction. They come in countless forms. I don't have enough time, I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow, or I need more preparation. Listening to these excuses leads only to stagnation. Every excuse delays progress and reinforces habits of avoidance. The key is recognizing excuses for what they are: barriers created by fear or laziness. Action doesn't wait for permission from comfort or confidence. It demands that you do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Resistance is a natural part of growth. Anytime you attempt something meaningful, your mind and body resist. The unfamiliar feels uncomfortable. Effort demands energy. Pushing against this resistance strengthens character. Each time you act despite discomfort, you train yourself to endure, to persist, and to maintain focus. Growth comes through this tension, not in the absence of it. Every step taken against resistance builds resilience, stamina, and the ability to perform when conditions are less than ideal. Consistency is built by ignoring excuses. Waiting for the right mood or the perfect conditions creates gaps in progress. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you reinforce the habit of persistence. Momentum is created not by sporadic bursts of effort, but by repeated decisions to act despite resistance. This habit compounds. Resistance diminishes in power as you continually prove to yourself that you can move forward regardless of obstacles. Discipline is cultivated in these moments. Discipline is the muscle that allows you to act without relying on fleeting motivation. Every time you ignore an excuse and take action, you strengthen that muscle. It becomes easier to follow through in the future. The brain begins to associate effort with progress, not with fear or avoidance. Over time, this conditioning transforms your approach to challenges. Tasks that once felt daunting become manageable because you have developed the internal structure to act consistently. Action also diminishes fear. Fear and resistance thrive on inaction. The longer you wait, the more intimidating the task becomes. By acting immediately, you break the cycle of fear and uncertainty. Each completed step provides evidence that you can handle what comes next. Fear loses its grip because you no longer give it the power to dictate your choices. Pushing through resistance repeatedly rewires your mind to expect accomplishment rather than hesitation. Breaking large tasks into manageable steps complements this approach. Even when resistance is strong, focusing on a single small action makes it easier to move forward. Completing one small part builds momentum and reduces psychological barriers. It demonstrates that progress is possible, that inaction is a choice, and that obstacles are temporary challenges, not permanent roadblocks. Each step forward chips away at resistance and reinforces the habit of action. Creating urgency helps push through excuses. Setting deadlines, timers, or short bursts of focused work limits the opportunity for hesitation. When you impose structure on your time, excuses lose their power. Action becomes non-negotiable, and resistance is met with commitment. Urgency generates focus, ensures follow-through, and accelerates progress. It converts intention into tangible results. Reflection enhances this process. At the end of the day, reviewing the moments when you faced resistance and still acted strengthens resolve. Understanding how you overcame excuses allows you to reinforce strategies for the future. It builds confidence that you can handle challenges again and again. The brain internalizes the lesson, action overcomes hesitation, and persistence produces outcomes. Ultimately, ignoring excuses and pushing through resistance is a daily practice. It is not a one-time effort. It is a continual choice to prioritize action over comfort, progress over avoidance, and results over excuses. Each time you take a step, despite reluctance, you move closer to your goals. You prove to yourself that no barrier, internal or external, can stop you when you commit to action. Success is not a matter of circumstance. It is a matter of choice made consistently, day after day, even when resistance is strong. Part woo, use a timer to create urgency. Using a timer to create urgency is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to force yourself into action every single day. The mind naturally drifts when there's no pressure, tasks feel endless, and the temptation to procrastinate is constant. When you set a timer, you give yourself a clear boundary, a defined window in which to focus entirely on the task at hand. Suddenly, the work that once felt overwhelming becomes contained, manageable, and immediate. The timer transforms your attention from scattered to sharp, and in that focused space, results multiply. Urgency drives action because it removes ambiguity. When a task has no clear end, it's easy to keep delaying it, convincing yourself there's always more time. A timer creates a visible limit. It tells your mind, this is the time for this task, and nothing else matters right now. With that structure, hesitation loses. The decision to act becomes straightforward because you know that time is limited, and the moment to do the work is now. Each tick of the clock reinforces attention, and every second becomes a step closer to completion. This method also trains your brain to work under pressure in a healthy, controlled way. Life is full of deadlines, responsibilities, and moments when waiting is not an option. Using a timer in your daily tasks creates a habit of urgency that prepares you for these real-life demands. You learn to manage attention, prioritize, and complete work efficiently. Over time, this skill becomes automatic. You no longer panic when deadlines approach because you've conditioned yourself to perform under constraints regularly. Go timers break tasks into focused segments, which makes even large, intimidating projects approachable. Instead of staring at a huge workload and feeling paralyzed, you can dedicate 30 minutes, an hour, or any fixed block of time to a single, defined action. When the timer ends, you assess your progress and adjust for the next segment. This segmentation prevents overwhelm and ensures consistent forward motion. It makes large projects feel like a series of manageable steps rather than an insurmountable mountain. Another benefit is the reduction of distractions. When a timer is set, the mind recognizes a boundary of commitment. You are less likely to check your phone, browse the internet, or let unrelated thoughts pull you away. The timer acts as a psychological signal that this time is for action, nothing else. That concentrated attention produces higher quality work and faster completion. The brain thrives on clear focus, and a timer provides that clarity every single day. Urgency also increases accountability to yourself. It creates measurable blocks of time and output. When you finish a task within the timer's window, you have immediate proof of accomplishment. This reinforces confidence and self. If you don't complete it, the timer gives a clear signal that adjustment is needed. You begin to understand the pace at which you work, the strategies that increase productivity, and the areas that require improvement. This feedback loop is invaluable for personal growth and long-term success. Timers also foster a sense of momentum. Completing one time session creates energy that carries into the next task. The satisfaction of finishing a focused segment provides reinforcement for continued effort. Momentum is built not by sporadic effort, but by repeated intentional action, and the timer is the tool that structures and accelerates that momentum. Over days and weeks, the compounding effect of focused time blocks produces results far beyond what unfocused effort can achieve. Using a timer also combats procrastination effectively. When the mind resists setting a short, defined period can make the first step easier. You tell yourself, I will work for just 20 minutes. Often, the hardest part is beginning. Once you start, the body and mind are engaged, and it's less common to continue well beyond the initial time because action generates energy. The timer reduces mental friction, provides clarity, and turns hesitation into immediate effort. Finally, the habit of using a timer creates discipline and structure that carries into every area of life. You learn to allocate time effectively, prioritize tasks, and respect the value of each moment. Action becomes intentional. The sense of urgency cultivated by time sessions transforms your approach to work, projects, and personal goals. It ensures that progress is consistent, measurable, and inevitable. Every day you practice working with a timer, you strengthen focus, speed, and efficiency. You teach your mind to resist delay and act decisively. You create a rhythm of achievement where each task is completed with purpose. By incorporating timers into your daily routine, you remove excuses, overcome inertia, and ensure that every block of time contributes directly to your growth. Urgency is not about stress. It's about clarity, structure, and forward motion. When you respect time and use it intentionally, you force yourself to act every single day, building momentum that leads to consistency. Reward yourself after completing tasks. Rewarding yourself after completing tasks is one of the most overlooked but powerful ways to maintain consistent action. Human behavior is deeply influenced by when effort is recognized and paired with a positive outcome, the brain associates action with reward, making it more likely that similar effort will occur again. This isn't about indulging in unnecessary treats. It's about creating a system where accomplishment feels satisfying and meaningful. Each completed task becomes an event worth acknowledging, and that acknowledgement fuels motivation and reinforces the habit of consistent effort. Rewards provide immediate feedback. Often we work toward long-term goals, and it can feel like progress is invisible. That delay between effort and results can lead to frustration and loss of drive. By intentionally rewarding yourself after completing a task, you create a short-term payoff. It doesn't matter if the task was small. The act of recognizing and celebrating completion reminds your mind that effort matters and that action produces tangible satisfaction. That reinforcement builds a cycle where action naturally leads to a sense of accomplishment, which drives further action. The nature of rewards can vary depending on the task and your personal values. A reward doesn't need to be extravagant. It can be a simple pause to enjoy something you like, a moment of reflection, or even a small gesture that gives you pleasure. Reading a favorite article, taking a short walk, listening to music, or enjoying a cup of coffee can all serve as effective reinforcement. Key is consistency. Linking reward to action strengthens the habit and conditions your mind to expect positive outcomes when work is completed. Rewarding yourself also combats mental fatigue. Consistent action, particularly on challenging or repetitive tasks, can be exhausting. Without recognition or satisfaction, the mind resists effort. Introducing a reward system provides a psychological boost. It signals that progress is being acknowledged, which renews energy and focus for subsequent tasks. Over time, this pattern develops resilience. Your mind learns to push through difficulty, knowing that completion is followed by a satisfying moment. Another benefit is that rewards create a sense of control over your actions. When you design your own reinforcement system, you are taking responsibility for your motivation. You don't rely on external praise, luck, or random circumstances to feel accomplished. Instead, you actively shape your environment and behavior to ensure that effort is meaningful. This self-directed system builds confidence, accountability, and ownership of your progress, all of which are essential for long-term success. Rewards enhance engagement. When you know that completing a task leads to a deliberate, positive outcome, you are more likely to approach work with attention and focus. The mind anticipates the reward, which increases willingness to act and reduces procrastination. The act of working becomes more than obligation. It becomes a structured, purposeful process where action and satisfaction are intertwined. Furthermore, rewarding yourself reinforces the habit of completion. Too often, people start projects or tasks but fail to finish them. Linking action with reward creates a natural incentive to follow through. The brain recognizes that completion produces positive consequences, so it begins to prioritize finishing tasks over leaving them incomplete. Each small success reinforces the next, creating a chain of consistent action and achievement. It's also important to recognize that rewards can be both internal and external. Internal rewards include feelings of pride, satisfaction, and accomplishment, while external rewards are tangible treats or gestures. Combining both creates a powerful feedback loop. Internal rewards build intrinsic motivation, giving the mental strength to keep going even when external conditions are difficult. External rewards provide immediate gratification and reinforcement, keeping energy and morale high. Together, they form a balanced system that ensures consistency and progress. Rewarding yourself is not indulgence, it is strategy. It trains the mind to value action, to recognize progress, and to maintain focus. Over time, this practice strengthens habit, increases motivation, and creates a positive association with consistent effort. It transforms work from a chore into a process of deliberate achievement, where each completed step provides satisfaction and momentum for the next. Ultimately, linking rewards to completed tasks ensures that action is sustainable. You learn to act consistently, even on days when energy or motivation is low, because the brain knows that effort produces satisfaction. Each reward reinforces behavior, builds momentum, and strengthens the habit of action. Over weeks and months, this approach compounds, producing tangible results and cultivating the discipline necessary for long-term success. By making reward a part of your daily system, you create an environment where progress is acknowledged, effort is meaningful, and consistent action becomes a natural, unstoppable habit. Part C, reflect each night and plan tomorrow's action. Reflecting each night and planning tomorrow's action is one of the most powerful habits for sustained progress. Every day brings challenges, distractions, and accomplishments, and without a moment to pause and evaluate, it's easy to repeat mistakes or overlook opportunities for growth. Taking the time to review your day allows you to see clearly what worked, what didn't, and what needs adjustment. It transforms ordinary days into lessons and ordinary effort into intentional progress. This habit ensures that your actions are always aligned with your goals, that mistakes become stepping stones, and that momentum never stalls. Reflection sharpens awareness. When you examine your day honestly, you notice patterns in your behavior, energy, and decision-making. You can identify which tasks drained your focus, which habits propelled you forward, and how you responded to resistance. This awareness allows you to make conscious choices rather than drifting through your day reactively. The simple act of noticing provides clarity, which is essential for consistent, deliberate action. Flaunting tomorrow's action is the natural extension of reflection. Once you see what worked and what didn't, you can design the next day with intention. You determine the tasks that truly matter, prioritize them, and schedule time to complete them. By doing this at night, you reduce morning indecision. You wake up with a clear plan and a sense of purpose, rather than wasting energy deciding what to do first. This preparation maximizes productivity and keeps your momentum continuous. Reflection also reinforces accountability. Each night, you review the commitments you made to yourself. Did you follow through on your must-do list? Did you act despite resistance? Did you honor the system you've set for yourself?